All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everyone out there, welcome to the Cross Your Bow Podcast, episode number 45, with my special guest today, Lord Zath. You guys can find him over at twitch.tv/lordzath, at Lord Zath, or what he's really proud of, his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Lord_Zath. You guys, I'll have links in the description below for all you people that were watching over on YouTube. What up? How's it going? What up, everybody? Today, my friend, Mr. Lord Zath, as everybody knows, is podcast day. It's such an exciting time for me to get to pick people's brains that have a different perspective of my own. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to pick your brain. So, first things first, how you been, bro?
Fine. I've just been, this year it's just so much going on, and I just keep finding more and more ways to get sucked into the game and the world around World of Warships. So it's great. I've got an amazing group of Twitch players and viewers that like to hang out and ask for help with their replays, and also a bunch that offer their assistance on replays. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's good times. How are you?
Man, I've been doing great. My RNG the last couple of days have been terrible. Fires everywhere. Come around the corner, hadn't been set on fire all game long. First shot fire, second shot double fire, hit repair button. Fourth shot coming in, 3 fires again. So I just it's getting out of control. I think fires are a little bit out of control. I think the my RNG is way in the shitter, and it is well, par for the course for here.
Gotcha.
But there you go. Guys, if y'all don't know who I am, I'm Sir Venom IK. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to the podcast. You guys can hit me up over on the Twitter at Sir_Venom_IK. Or you guys can hit me up over on the Twitch, which is right here, twitch.tv/Sir Venom IK. If you guys are here, if you guys want a live conversation, come in while I'm live. All right. So I guess the first thing is first. What do you think about the CVs? Now, there's there's a new dev blog out there, and I'm going to read this dev blog out real quick, and then I'd like to hear your interpretation of this. All right?
Okay.
So it says this is in super test now. This is in super test, so everything's subject to change. There will be a closed test session will help evaluate how the time between squadron attacks influences and interacts between planes and AA defenses. The minimum time between attacks for squadrons of all Tier 10 aircraft is increased from 5 seconds to 9 seconds. And then specifically for audacious bombers, the acceleration time of the bombers right after they drop their bombs is lowered from 4 seconds to 3.5 seconds. The acceleration coefficient of the bombers right after they drop their bombs lowered from 2 to 1.5, meaning that bombers will not accelerate to as high a speed directly after the drop. Now, I've heard some rumblings about this, and this is to help counter the slingshot mechanic in the game. This is what a lot of people are saying. Now, I don't know if slingshotting is such a big deal. When I play the few times that I play CVs, the only time that I ever really slingshot is if I'm having to go into a big group of people. That's very situational at best. What are your thoughts on all this? Where do you think they're going?
Yeah, slingshot dropping makes sense if you're going against like an individual ship, but you want to kind of sidestep most of the defenses of that ship. It's not. It's definitely not something that is used all the time, and I think players that are extremely good at the game can, have definitely mastered that component for carriers, but it's not the end all be all. In my opinion, I think the bigger issue is when it comes to interaction between carriers and destroyers. Carriers just having too much power.
I think that the majority of the community, from my experience, the majority of the community is in that same boat. But I'm going to read something to you now that they posted in a non-NDA channel, so it's legal for me to say. And
I know what you're going to read.
Exactly. I'm going to read it out there to everybody, and then I want to get your opinion on it. It says, on the whole, we think that the interaction between carriers and DDs are okay. First of all, CV rework decreased the gap between skilled and unskilled CV players. Inexperienced DD players die quickly in battles even without a CV because they cannot get used to that class's gameplay features. So in the nearest future, we're not planning any major changes in any direction. What do you think of this? And I'll tell you what I think.
Well, first of all, I think it's interesting that they're saying that one class is superior to another simply because the inferior class doesn't know how to play the class, which is kind of an interesting kind of way to respond to that. Um, because while yes, it's kind of true that you're going to have people that don't understand how to play a certain class of ship and stuff. Very rarely does that result in such a carrying of the actual battle as it does in carriers.
I think it goes a little bit further than that. I think that they're holding the game to a double standard on their own on their own accord. So let's just take a look at what they said. The decrease in the gap between the skilled players and unskilled CV players. Okay, so now you're widening the gap between DD players and unskilled DD players, and
Hmm.
not only that, but skilled or versus unskilled CV players versus skilled and unskilled DD players. I don't think that skilled or unskilled DD players can even stand up to anything that the CV can put out there. I think the CV with its rocket planes just do absolutely too much. And I'm talking specifically of the Tiny Tims because those things are ridiculous, doing 10, 12,000 damage volleys coming across the top. And that's not even get me started on the Enterprise and how many planes it has in its fucking squadrons. So I think this is a very short-sighted and very we have put this out there and we're going to ram it down your throat whether it's good or not. That's kind of the attitude that I got out of this. Thoughts?
I mean, it's their game. They can do what they want. That being said, they have to at least be considerate of the gameplay and what's causing people to stay or what's causing people to leave. Um, and if you're right, if wargaming is essentially saying that they are happy with the CV we were causing a greater skill gap in destroyers, well then that's kind of where we're at. But I don't agree with that. I don't think it's a good idea.
I agree. I don't think that it's a good idea either. Simply for the fact that I don't know. Let's just try to let's put a percentage around this here real quick, Zath. Would you agree to say 60 to 75% of the player base all saying that the DD interaction with CVs is terrible? We need to do something about it. Or would you say that it's less than that or more than that?
I would say I'd say you have to be very careful with when you bring out stats like that because an awful lot of the player base just simply either doesn't care or just isn't vocal. And I don't know that the vocal players have the same feelings, beliefs as the non-vocal, if that makes any sense.
Fair enough. I mean that's fair. All I know is all right. So let's roll it down to something a little closer to home. Community contributors.
Hmm.
Without giving away names and without giving away details, I would say that the vocal majority is deathly against it. Has continued in there that struggle with the developers in that conversation to get things done. We're saying that this is not right, and they're telling us, well, there's no evidence to the contrary. And I'm like, what evidence are you based on? I mean, like, because I can sit there and show you time after time after time on the streams while we're playing a destroyer getting popped for 8K, getting popped for 12K. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to swallow at times.
Well, sure, yes, but again, in that situation, you're talking about how many. If I don't know if you feel comfortable saying, but how many total CCs would you say you see are being vocal about this?
Well, that's why I'm saying vocal ones. I mean, there's been, I think, maybe 3 people that said CVs are fine. They don't care one way or another,
Hmm.
or you need to just dodge, which is never an answer. And if it is an answer, it's not a
Wow.
good answer.
It's
Uh,
become a joke at this point, right?
yeah, it's basically a meme. So I don't know, man. It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to swallow, and when they put out statements like this in an official capacity, uh, it's very, number one, it's disheartening for a player that's been played for a long time. I've been played for 4 years. I don't know how long you've been playing, but it's
Longer.
longer than that. Yeah, I think it's interesting when they do that. They kind of alienate. They kind of alienate a the player base, and b what we as community contributors are trying to accomplish, and pass information along, maybe give some information that people don't know about, and then when we're bringing back our particular communities issues with the game, they're saying, well, it doesn't matter, and it's kind of making light of those particular things.
Well, it is ultimately their cat walked in front of the camera. It's ultimately their decision how much they want to interact with us. But I can definitely agree that it can be disheartening to care about a product so much, to be so excited to be elevated to a certain status, to have that direct line with the developers and feel like you can make a difference or have an impact in the development of the game in a sense, and then be told, well, we're not interested in some of what you have to say about this topic.
Right. Yeah, that's the most interesting part of it. Just okay. Well, what's the point of the program if everything that we bring to you guys, and um, you tell us that A, it doesn't matter, B, the spreadsheet says you're having fun, or C, just dodge. I mean, I know you can go we could go on and on and on about this, but that's not the point of the question. But where do you think they should go? What do you think they should
What
do with CVs? We'll talk about we'll keep this CV conversation going here for just a little bit longer. Uh, what do you see as the biggest issue? Is there any other issues other than the way that they interact with destroyers, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, if you don't mind, I want to get back into the subject of CCs for a sec, 'cause I see a
Sure.
comment there
Go ahead.
that I'd like to respond to. Um, I don't know that I consider myself simply advertisements for the company at this point. Um, I just came back a couple weekends ago from a really great experience at one of the Anchors Away tours, and as a CC, I was out there hanging out with people, commenting, chatting with people, building relationships with some of the player base, of course, and stuff like that, which was just a lot of fun and extremely rewarding. Um, you know, and I came as a player, and just got to do all this great stuff. I don't I don't know that I quote unquote earned that by trying to sell a product or something. But what I like about the program is that there's such a diversity of us that you know we can all be sharing our different perspectives and opinions on things, um, both with each other and with wargaming, of course. A- Again, if they want to listen, it's up to them. But I just enjoy the fact that we have that dialogue, even if it feels like the door is shut right now. God, man, I don't know any other video game company that has invested so much into some of its players. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, to me, does it feel like they're wasting some potential? I would agree. I think they definitely are wasting some potential on us, by not bringing us in for focus group more, or something along those lines. Like when we were at the CC Summit last summer and they introduced the Naval Training Center to us, we all just kind of looked at each other like, can you can you see what this guy's doing? Can like, we were in shock, but they didn't want to hear that we were in shock. They just wanted to tell us that they were doing this. And I think that's where the big disconnect's coming from. And that's kind of, I think, the bigger point you're trying to talk about there is that there's so much potential that is just being wasted.
I would agree that potential is being wasted. Um, I don't think that they. ask for our approval on anything ever. Uh, they don't. Then they don't have to. I mean, this was a courtesy of us, to try to, I don't know, to help us out and help them out, so we can work together to make, to make the whole game better. I don't know. It's a really weird concept, the community contributor program, and I'm happy to be a part of it, obviously, but
Sure.
but
And I mean, Wargaming's not the only company that does this. Subaru's got
no,
an ambassadors program. Most
yeah.
car companies have a core group of people that they use. So I mean, but it just feels like there's more that could be done. That's all.
Yep, I totally agree. As for let's roll back into carriers here now. Let's.
Sure.
What do you think? What do you think? Is there any other? Like I said, is there any other issues besides just the rocket interactions that you see as a problem, or do you see CVs as a problem at all? I've never really gotten that. I never really asked that question, but
I'm gonna answer in a way that might shock people. I'm gonna say no. And the reason I'm saying no is because I'm looking at CVs in the game as a whole and not in any one particular game mode. I think in random battles, CVs are a bit of a frustration. In ranked battles, CVs are frustrating, but the way that the XP changes went through the last season of Rank 10, it felt like carriers weren't just automatically saving their stars anymore. So you know, I felt like that was a step in the right direction from a competitive standpoint. We haven't seen it in clan battles yet. Where I do enjoy carriers is co-op and in scenarios, and I think that there's a lot of opportunities to grow those two areas, especially in carrier games. Um, but we haven't seen that because there's so much kind of focus and emphasis on randoms, if that makes any sense.
right. Well, the game is not. They have come out and said on many occasions that the game is not balanced around the competitive scene. It's balanced around the average player. It's balanced around the random experience, right?
Right.
And then they have to adjust minor things for the competitive scene.
Right.
I will wholeheartedly and 100% disagree with you about ranked season. CVs did not need to be in ranked period or any kind of competition, because when you lower the amount of players in the game, the stronger the CVs end up being, and they get to a point where I feel that they're a little bit overpowered in a 7v7 or an 8v8 setting, with their ability to fly across the map within a minute and a half and really delay anything that you can do as a destroyer, and then have on the other side of it knock the shit out of you, and you're basically not playing it anymore at that point in time when the CV says, "Okay, I'm coming after you." So no, randoms I don't give a shit about. I mean, go for it if you want to put it in randoms, whatever. But ranked season clan battles, I don't feel that CVs have any place in there at this point. Not in the current
See,
state.
now my biggest problem with carriers in the first season of ranked that they were allowed, was it 2 seasons of ranked ago? Three? I can't keep them all straight, man.
Right.
But back when they allowed them for the first time, what frustrated me the most about carriers wasn't so much the gameplay and sitting there and me versus the carrier as a destroyer. As a matter of fact, I loved it because I would take the Grozovoy out, and I had no problem dodging the carriers and stuff like that. Maybe once or twice I got totally screwed by a carrier, once or twice. But what frustrated me more than anything else is that the carrier on my team was going to save his star if I lost. And I gave up playing Destroyer that season of ranked because of that. It was just too frustrating. Every time I ran into a carrier, okay, now it's just a. I hope my team's going to win, because if my team doesn't, I'm losing my star.
Yeah.
And to me, that was the most frustrating part of the whole experience.
I think it goes a long way, and you can blame the Sims for that. By the way, you can blame the Sims for your DD lack of experience at the end of the game. And if you guys don't know what I'm referencing, they did one tier 7 ranked season after I started playing ranked, and it was the absolute worst season I've ever had. 500 plus.
It was my
games.
favorite.
I think this is going to go off into a long tangent, but I think tier 7 is a terrible tier for ranked, and I also think tier 10 is terrible as well because the cruisers are so much better than everything else at those tiers, and that's all I'm going to say. But anyway, the Sims has Captain Save a Star status with its bonus experience ratios. So all you had to do was go in there, get one cap, do about 10,000 damage, and you were pretty much saving your star every game. So that's what they did, is they changed the way caps are rewarded in ranked season. They've changed the experience on a couple other things, and then they never ran a fucking tier 7 season again. And they have not run a full tier 7 rank season since. They've done a couple of ranked sprints, but that's not the same thing, is it? So
No.
it's very frustrating for them to nerf the shit out of it and then never run the reason why they nerfed it again. So I'm glad that they didn't run tier 7 again, because I think that tier 8, 9, and 6 are a hell of a lot more balanced than 7 and 10. So,
Well, I don't know. 8 was fine with me because when I ranked out in the tier 7 season, that was with the Kiev, and that was back when it was a tier 7.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't mind playing 8. I actually enjoy that, but yeah, I mean, to me, you know what I'd love to see, man, ranked wise, tier wise, I'd love to see a tier 3 or a tier 4, probably a tier 3 mostly. I think tier 3 would be hella fun.
I think tier 3 would be definitely interesting. Whether it would be fun or not, I don't know. I'd have to get in there and see. Yeah, I try to reserve my judgment for some of these things, but so far my favorite ones have been the tier 8, 6s, and 9. That tier 9 rank season they did at Arms Race was so much fun, because it was, me personally, I'm an objective-based player, man. I'm not going to sit out there and farm damage. I'm going to go get those caps. I'm going to go try to put our team in a position to win, as opposed to farming damage, well, like a majority of the people do when they get into the rank season. So I'm pretty excited. I'm not excited about this new rank season simply for the fact that there's carriers involved, and with the way that Arms Race works, the planes get all the buffs, but there's no buffs to your AA. So your planes are going to heal, your planes are going to come back faster, and you're not going to have enough AA to shoot them down. Period. I don't care how many buffs you have. They're just going to out-heal your AA. So that at some point in time, the carriers become invincible. Or at least the planes become invincible. So I'm not looking forward to that season at all. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm so burnt out of ranked at this point, man. I just played a rank 6 and I stopped. It's just not worth my time and frustration anymore.
I know this is the first time... since this is the first time in this last full rank season that I haven't ranked out since I started playing again.
And how do you feel about that?
Pretty upset because, I'm take a little bit of average pride in what I'm doing and playing the ship that not a lot of people play or not a lot of people tout on in the Z52, which is my go-to for ranked in the Z52, Z46, stuff like that. And not a lot of people play it. And in fact, I remember in particular in that same tier 9 rank season, this dude comes in. Why aren't you playing the Jutland? It's like, because I don't want to play the Jutland. It's like, it was so much better than the 46. It's like, motherfucker, I just won 7 games in a row. Why would I stop playing this boat now? And people just can't get over why are you not playing the best DPM? Why? Because I like this boat better, man.
Because certain other individuals came out and said certain ships were better, and therefore, if you're not playing the better ship, you're gonna lose and you're hurting your team.
Yeah, but I'll go on record right now and tell you that the Benham is a terrible fucking rank boat. Period. It cannot. It's a terrible fucking rank boat, and whoever said that, and they know who they are, they're stupid, because that was one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Either way, it is what it is. So, all right. So there was something. What? Do you have any more comments that you want to make about CVs before we move on?
No, other than just I hope something gets done, and I hope they look into DD-CV interaction. That's it.
All right, there you go. CV-DD interaction, which everybody knows that even if you're in a group, AA doesn't really show up very much. all the time. Or let's put it this way, it doesn't show up in a consistent enough manner to be comfortable. There's a couple of factors for this. Number one, you really don't feel like you're doing anything when you're throwing out AA boat, or when you're throwing out an AA. The AA button doesn't feel like it does a whole lot. There's very little feedback from your AA unless you shoot one down. So you'll sit there and you'll look up at your little damage totals, and you'll do 10,000 damage, and then you won't shoot down a plane, even being by yourself. It's very frustrating for a player to play against a CV with very minimal interaction. And what I mean by that is this carrier is always at its 100% maximum strength. If you have 4 planes in that squadron and 2 planes in that flight, you have to shoot down 2 planes before you affect that damage, before you affect the ability for him to do damage. So you're always ripping off the back end of it, so he is always at his maximum potential damage as long as he has planes. So I think that is the biggest issue that I see, and then the lack of feedback while you're actually putting up an AA button or putting out a sector. It doesn't really feel, because I'm a feels guy, it doesn't really feel like you're it doesn't really feel like you're doing anything. Whether you are or not, it doesn't really feel that way. It doesn't seem that way unless you see the big numbers start popping up. I've got 12 kills here in planes in that squadron. You know what I mean? That's
So are you the kind of guy that puts IFHE on Des Moines?
no. 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 But I will take the spotter plane Des Moines, and I've been playing the spotter plane Des Moines for quite a while now, and it's definitely interesting. That long range HE spammer with the Des Moines legendary mod. It's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. All right, boys, let's move on into the 9 questions of averageness. Lord Zath, since this is your first visit with us here on the podcast, we want to get to know you a little bit better. So I've come up with the 9 questions of averageness to try to dip into your brain a little bit, man. We're gonna open up your brain, we're gonna scoop it out, and we're gonna chew it up. Are you ready for it?
Sure.
All right, man. Question number one. How did you find World of Warships?
How did I find out about it originally?
Yeah, anyway, I mean, how'd you find it? What started to play?
Oh, okay. Well, I'd always been a huge fan of naval warfare, naval ships. I grew up on Super Nintendo and fell in love with a game called Pacific Theater of Operations, PTO. And so basically, I played that through Super Nintendo, and then PS2, they had PTO 4, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed like Battle Stations Midway, Battle Stations Pacific, and extremely loved a game that was put on by this little known company called Leicester Studios called Pacific Storm, and then their Pacific Storm Ally sequel that they had. I had a lot of fun with those kinds of games. And so when I was like just watching around one day, I remember seeing that they had mentioned development of World of Warships, and it was like I just got like super excited, and I couldn't wait. I remember reading this one gaming article that somebody had posted as an alpha, like a very early alpha tester. They were talking about the class interactions and how it all worked and the teamwork aspect. And I'm just reading this. I'm just like, this looks so cool. The models are amazing. So I got lucky. I got invited into the closed beta weekends, which is just at the tail end of the alpha test and right before they started closed beta test. They had 2 beta weekends, and I just couldn't stop playing. Like, my wife can attest to this. I couldn't stop playing, except I had to stop to go to work. But
damn that work.
Damn that work indeed.
Because
I had on the second weekend, I had just gotten to Lexington and had just unlocked the entire damn ship, like upgraded all the, the planes and everything. And I got to play one battle, and then I had to go to bed. And I'm like, oh, this sucks.
That's back in the day when you had the RTS style carriers.
Yes.
And that was a lot of fun to play the RTS carriers. But as the game grew on, we saw how broken those could be as well.
Yep.
All right. Question number 2. What was your motivations to start streaming or YouTubing or anything like that?
I wanted to join the CC program.
There you go. Simple enough. Nice, short, and sweet.
Um, yeah, so I wanted to join it, and I took a look at what was available, what was out there. I believe at the time you were already streaming. I know Flamu was streaming, of course, and a whole bunch of others. And I looked at what most of the streams were, and most of them were kind of, hang out with me and stream kind of deals. And I thought, you know I'd love to help players improve, get better, enjoy the game more, because they, are better at the game. So I created SAS Replay Theater as a way to um, kind of fill that void, if you will. um, I started off with YouTube, and then I said, well, maybe I should jump into Twitch. So I went and played at Twitch for a bit, and then I'm like, this is so much better. And so now I do both, but mostly I stream live, and then I just put it on YouTube.
There you go. I know. I know for the first couple of weeks trying to learn the game, it was more of come hang out, help me, come help me, help me, help me.
Hmm.
Learn how to play this game. And uh, once I got a firm hold of the basics of the game, I was able to parlay that into okay, now let me help you. And I think that myself and there was a few others, and I believe yourself were the first groundbreaking people that was like instead of it's all about me, let's see what we can do to help somebody else and try to help people have a better mentality. And I'm always gone with the mentality uh, as opposed to oh, you should have done this here, you should have done that there. I've always asked the questions, why, what were you thinking here, what were you doing? And
Right.
hopefully my goal is to change the way people perceive the game and change the way that they perceive what they should be doing or what their actual role is, so they don't fall into that I need to play DPM all the time, so they can play it how they want to and be effective doing what they want to. All right, question number 3. Being a Twitch streamer, then a community contributor, and I think we just touched on it just a little bit. What do you hope to contribute to the community?
Yeah, I think we kind of answered that
Yeah,
question.
yeah. Yeah, teaching and helping people is such an important thing. And I know you get this a lot. I know you get this question a lot, and it's the most frustrating question that I receive here on the channel or on the podcast or any of the messages that I get in Twitter. The most frustrating one is, how do I play this game? Because we can sit there for the next 3 hours and talk about how to play this game. Uh, and I don't know about you, but I look for those specific things, those specific questions, because it's easier to tailor an answer to where they need to hear it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I've never gotten frustrated before by somebody saying how do I play this game. I think I think what frustrates me most, and it's not players like on Twitch really, or YouTube, or on forums. It's players in game that refuse to do anything but what they want to do.
Mm.
And that might be, I'm going to sail around in my Iowa on the 10 line and just shoot at max range, and I'll do 5,000 damage, and I don't care. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm just
to
here
me,
to those. I'm just here to have fun, guys. Is what you're talking about.
well, no, maybe, I don't know. I look at it as, like, if I'm playing like if I'm going to play a random battle, for example, you know, sure, I'm having fun, but you know, winning is a big part of that, at least in my opinion. Or at least if it's not the winning part of it, it's trying to understand why I'm not winning and what I can do to improve, what I can do to better my game. Um, if I want to sit back and just have fun personally, I just play co-op, and I've played a lot of co-op games. I think I'm at like 5,000 co-op games even. I don't care. It's my stress relief, you know,
Right.
and I'm able to, like, I'm playing co-op right now while I'm talking to you, so I can grind out the Kabarovsk legendary module. I just charged in a C cap on shards. It's 17 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock, and I just died. I don't care.
It's
But I
co-op.
haven't. It's co-op.
I,
Exactly. It's
when I go play co-op, we went and played some co-op for Citadels the other day for that first ARP mission that we got going
Yeah.
on, and I just didn't care. I just ran in there. I was like, okay, here's Citadels, boom, and then it's co-op, and I love it. I love it, and it makes me laugh and it gives me so much pleasure to sit there and listen. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go around over here. I'm gonna do this flank. I'm like, dude, it's co-op.
Yeah.
It's not
Right.
that
Just
serious.
right. So to me, like, that's how I see the game. If I want to just have fun, or maybe I'll go into scenarios and I'll just, just bum around in a tier 6
There you
or
go.
7, whatever. Like to me, that's how I'm having fun. But I realize that everybody's a different player. It's just like
Yeah,
for me, as somebody who tries to help others improve, if I go and I give somebody a suggestion and their response is, "F you, don't tell me how to play my game,"
yeah.
to me, that's just that doesn't help at all.
No, it doesn't help, and it's very that's pretty frustrating as well to get. I'm like, hey man, why did you do that? And they're
Yep.
like, well, fuck you, who gives a shit? And I'm like, man, now, or the ones where they make really dumb moves and they complain that nobody supported them. You get that all the time. We can go on and on, but those are the guys that are bad at the game and don't know that they're bad at the game, Zath, and they think you are the problem. And those beautiful people there. So, as being a streamer and a community contributor and YouTuber, what has been your biggest setback, and how have you overcome that setback, my friend?
My biggest setback as a streamer YouTuber was probably 2 years ago. I had gotten a little bit, I guess, maybe a little too comfortable with my replay theater, and I was um, I was doing a game of Narai, and it was this guy on the forums, Chaos En2. I still remember his name. And I had gone in, and there was Narai, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Operation Not Right, yeah.
hmm So typically in Narai, when I play Narai, there's always one person that goes for the transports, right? Because the
Right.
transports are easy farm, easy metal and stuff like that. Well, this player had gone and was playing a Miyoko and was shooting basically anything he could get his gun sights on, including the transports. And I'm like, dude, you're being a giant dick right now shooting the transports because you're screwing somebody out of an achievement. And I said, but I realize you don't know that right now because, you're probably just playing the game to have fun, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm just saying, hey, oh, cool. I just got a Twitch drop watching your stream.
There you go.
Yeah. Um, and now redirect. So anyway, so that player at first was really excited to have his replay out there. And then some others had gone in and said, do you realize what he just called you and all? And I had no intent of ever offending him in what I was saying. But I came off that way. I was perceived that way. And to me, that was probably the worst thing that I've had to do it as a CC, is to have a player really upset with what I had done in my commentary. He pinged all the wargaming staff. He was really upset. I apologized to him. But come on, an apology only goes so far. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I said, what do you want me to do to make this right? He said, take all my content off that you've covered. And I've covered about 2 or 3 of his replays. And it was unfortunate because, like I got to watch him grow and I had commented on that in the most recent one, but those were his wishes and I needed to respect that. So that's how I resolved it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'd have been like, nope, I'm a dick. Fuck you. Don't be a douchebag. But that, I'm just abrasive when it comes to that kind of shit. But no, man, I mean it's nice that you are willing to eat a little bit of crow. I mean, I have to eat some of it every once in a while, and it's kind of humbling and it kind of keeps you grounded. And
I
I
mean,
think that that's a good thing, and I think that more people can. I think that there's CCs even that need to take a step back and look at what's going on in the way that they are within the
yeah,
community and how they've been perceived in the community.
I'll tell you what, man, if you go back to my original SAS Replay Theater thread on the forums, he said that he's happy to delete all of his posts after we resolve the situation, and I can delete mine. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. this is a part of my learning process. This is where I screwed up, and I want this to be out there, because that's how we all learn and grow.
Yeah.
So, it was a very humbling experience. It was something that I always think of very carefully when I do my stream analysis. I'm very careful now. What I'm saying about players and stuff like that. Um, and it's tough, like you get somebody that's doing things that you're like, oh God, here we go. But I'm not gonna say that in chat, and start pissing on someone,
Me and you have two different priorities when it comes to that because I will rail on people for just being idiots. I do it all the time. And it comes from a place of number one, frustration, and
Sure.
number two, a place of a place of passion. I play this game with a lot of passion. I hate to lose. I do not like to lose this game. And I want everybody to have the same mentality of I want to do whatever it takes to win this fucking game. I don't care about my PR rating. I don't give a shit. The only thing I care about is that win rate. I want that win rate
Sure.
as high as I can possibly get it. And when somebody's out there saying I just want to have fun, it frustrates the piss out of me because winning is fun to me. And don't fuck up my fun because you want to have fun. You know what I mean?
Sure. No,
That's I get very salty when it comes to people not making the right things or which has led me into playing more destroyers in rank season as opposed to playing a battleship like I normally would play in rank season because I need you go get that cap so we can win. And the guy refused to go get the cap. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to take that off the table and I'm going to go do it my fucking self. So,
sure. But to me, if somebody's gonna take the risk of sending me their replay, they're essentially saying, "I trust you to tell me how I'm doing and give me feedback." I don't ever want to be putting them in a position where they feel like that trust was broken. And I guess that goes back to me being an educator, but I don't ever want like my students to feel like they can't be open and ask for help and that sort of thing around me in the classroom. So it's gonna be the same way when it comes to doing this.
nah, that's fair enough. I mean, I know I'm a teacher of men, I've been an instructor of children.
Hmm.
And in the local karate schools, the assistant instructor there for about 2.5 years. So I understand exactly what you're coming from. But at some point in time, you do have to give them a reality check and saying, hey, this is not the way that we need to be doing this. You cannot coast here. You need to put in this kind of effort. And I know it's a little bit different in real life than it is for a damn video game. But I totally get what you're saying, and I totally understand it
Hmm.
and respect it too. All right, there you go. From question number 5, from WoW's player to streamer to community contributor. What have you learned in your journey about the community? And what has changed in the gaming community and the streaming community since you started?
Oh boy, that's a lot of questions in one.
Well, I I had to minimize the number of questions, so I just kind of smushed a couple together. But
Sure. So, okay, so I would say, what have I learned about the player base? That interaction with that player was something that threw me for a loop. And like humbling and all that. But going to the Anchors Away uh, sessions and stuff like that really has helped me understand that it's so easy when you play the game to think you're sitting at the screen looking in at the game, and someplace else, somebody else is staring at the screen, and they're just like you. You know what I mean? Like they have the same interests, the same goals, that sort of thing. And I think to me that's just you know it's part of ecocentrism, right? We
right,
think that we are all the same when we're not. And so some of the best experiences I've had were going to these actual wargaming events because I got to meet everybody else. Most of the players in this game are older players. They're in the 30s, their 40s, their 50s. But what's cool is there's also a younger generation. There's
yeah,
also, you know, 10-year-olds that are playing, and teenagers that are playing and stuff too, and there's players that are in their 80s and 90s that are playing, and holy crap. So like, to me, that's what's really cool about the player base is it's so diverse, but we have to remember that when it comes to every sort of interaction with them.
Uh,
So
I,
you know
I know. I recently, I say recently, but it's been back in December when I went to the Lexington for the Anchors Away event here in Texas.
hmm
It was very nice to walk through and just observe people. I mean, nobody knew me from Twitch, which is, well, number one. It's kind of sad because some of my boys from the channel were supposed to go, but they didn't show up. But either way,
oops.
sad face and a little tear.
Right.
But to interact with some of the people that didn't know who I was, and I was getting to talk to this one kid. I remember this one kid was sitting there talking. Hey man, you playing the game? He's like, yeah. So well, what's your favorite boat? He's like, man, I really like the American battleships. And I was like, okay, here you go, boom. And I gave him the USS Texas card, right? That we were able to give away. And he looked at
Yep.
me and he gave it to his dad. He said, "Dad, look." And he's like, this is the one that you wanted the other day, right?" He's like, "Yes." And so the kid just got super excited about the Texas, which we all know the Texas has its up and downs, but this kid didn't care. He's not influenced by anything. He's not influenced by his experiences yet, and he still has enjoyment for the game, and is very new to the game. And I saw that, and I was just like, man, number one, it made me happy because I like the Texas. I think it's great. But and number two, it also made that dad happy as well. That he went to an event, wasn't expecting anything. He didn't look like he was having a good time. The dad wasn't, but now he was because he could see it in his kids. So it was very good interaction.
And I've had those interactions too. One of my favorites actually was I ran into a guy who had been featured on my channel, and he said, "I sent you one of the best games that I've ever played." And he said, "I thought I did everything right." And then you went and examined my gameplay and found so many different things that I could have done. And he's like, and that just opened my eyes to, wow, there's so much room to improve. And it was like such a cool moment to sit here with that guy. I said, compliment, thank you. Here, have an Alabama.
There you go.
You know,
And it's like, oh
like,
my god,
yeah, it was great.
yeah. I love the interactions. I love the interactions. But what do you think has changed in the our little gaming community and the streaming community here, World of Warships?
I think a lot of the players who initially started have gotten burnt out. I think they've gotten tired. They've gotten frustrated, and I think a lot of them have moved on. Sadly, um,
Yeah.
I think that now most of the players that are playing the game are, and not to offend anybody who's currently playing, but I feel like they're kind of a shadow of what they used to be. It feels a little bit less like there's an interest in improving. It feels like there's a little bit less of an interest in doing better stats wise. And I think I don't think that's because of the players. I think that's because of the way the economy has been really kind of jacked up as a result of all the XP bonuses and camos and flags and first time win bonus and all that. Um, to the point where now you can fail your way to a tier 10 relatively quickly and whatever. So I just find it like I'm finding myself getting more and more frustrated playing random battles as more and more of the player base makes their way to tier 10. And I'm not trying to sound elitist. I'm probably coming off that way. And I don't mean it to sound like that at all. It's just
Oh no,
when I,
no. Don't you don't ever have to apologize for being away here. Don't ever apologize for it. I can tell you right now, firsthand experience, the player base is shit compared to what it was 2 years ago. There's been an influx of new players that don't have to go through the trouble that we went through. Not saying that it was harder back then, but it was definitely a little bit more difficult to get through some of these boats. I remember playing 150 games at tier 8 to get to tier 9.
yes, me too. And
Because
back then the best camo you can get was 100%
100%,
XP. And
yep,
that was it.
100% XP, and there was very minor flags. We didn't have the Hydra flags and all those special flags. We didn't have the special camos, unless you wanted to unless you wanted to pay the 50 doubloons for Type 59, that was it.
Oh, they didn't even have that Type 59. The original doubloon camo was just 100%, the stripy one, Type 6, I think it's called.
I don't know what that one is, man. I don't
That
think.
that's
I
hu-
think it
this,
was. I think it was gone before I started playing.
oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
because Type 59 is more kind of recentish.
relatively
But
recent.
you've already yeah, the zebra, right? You've already got some people that are commenting on your chat right now. I stopped playing for a year or two,
Hmm.
came back recently. I'd be very curious if you guys in chat don't mind. Why are you back? Like what brought you back and what's keeping you in the game? Because I think that's going to be a different answer than what you or I are going to have.
Well, that particular guy came back because I was sitting in a bikini one night on the show.
I try really hard not to judge people.
I know that particular guy. Some people's mentalities have definitely shifted, uh, and the leveling process is way faster. And I
Yeah.
think to the game's detriment. I mean, it's fine, whatever. People can do whatever they want to with their money, or they can do whatever they want to with their free XP. I don't care. But when you take the experience away from them having to struggle a little bit, not too much, but to they don't ever get better and they don't feel like it's necessary to get better. It doesn't matter because I can get to tier 10 in less than 200 games or less than however many. I think Mijesh was going back through, and I think he was 150 games total, as opposed to that
Hmm.
going from a Mogami to an Ibuki, and you're playing 150 games just in that one particular boat. So you really learned the boat and learned the interaction between that boat and all the rest of the boats in the game through those 150 games. I think that's a little bit lost on the community today.
Absolutely agree. 100%.
Yeah.
And I guess that's true because when we started playing, tier 10 was a status symbol, right? Like you might be playing I remember playing like a tier 5 or 6 ship I was grinding and then seeing somebody like, "Yo dog, shut up. I've got a tier 10," and it's like, so what? Like what does that matter? But I remember, when I got my first tier 10, I had all this pride about me and stuff, like I beat the game in one sense. And then last year, in September, whenever the Wargaming had their anniversary patch, um, I reset all 24 lines and reground them all in one patch just because I could. I blew a lot of free XP doing it, but it was hilarious that I was able to even accomplish something like that. So,
I
it is what
totally
it is.
agree. I totally agree. The Research Bureau, although well intended, I think it had a little bit of adverse effects on the rest of the community.
Yeah.
Now my original goal for playing the game was to get to tier 10. I mean, that was the goal. Now the goal is not to get to tier 10, it's just to get to those resets, so we have to grind it all over again. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing for some people, because me as a streamer, you as a YouTuber, you as a streamer, that's fucking content for us, man. That gives us more and more content to produce out there, and we don't have to, it's less work for us because all we have to do is go out there and play. You know what I mean?
Sure. Actually, for me, I didn't reset all my lines just for Research Bureau. I actually reset all my lines so that I can double dip on the prizes because when that patch dropped for the anniversary, there's a little line there that said, if you have reset all a ship prior to the patch drop, you get the reward for that ship, and then once you get like if you rebuy the ship, you get it again.
Right.
So I reset all of my lines so I can get the rewards. I logged in the first day of that patch and I had something like 106 containers from all the tier 9s and
Well, that's
10s
insane.
and 8s. Opened a ball. I was very unhappy with all of them, so I reground all the lines and wasn't too happy with all the rest of the containers anyway. But hey, what the hell? It was something. It was something stupid that I can do, and I just had a lot of fun doing that. I mean, I'm at the point now where what entertains me it isn't the same as what entertains most other players in the game. It's just what can I do with this crazy stockpile of wealth that I've accumulated in this game, and it's just hilarious.
Yeah, I've done some pretty stupid builds out there. Big Gun Conqueror. People will be like, I usually do I'll get to this one last comment and then we'll move on. I usually do Total Request Live, right? It's Carson Venom over here on Total Request Live. Whatever ship you want me to play, if I have it, if I'm able to get it, and I'll do it. So they're like, play Big Gun Conqueror, and I was like, man, come on, man, DPM, and then I started playing the Big Gun Conqueror, and how much fun that I was having with Big Gun Conqueror, doing that 65%. Fire chance and then knocking the ever loving crap out of people from range with its AP. And I was like, hey,
Yeah.
this is actually pretty good, guys. Don't sleep on this and enjoy it. And everybody I would tell, oh, no, man, you got to go with the smaller guns because DPM. And I'm like, man, y'all are missing out. And then they brought out the Thunder, and the Thunder was majority of the people that I talked to really like the Thunderer. And I'm like, this is the same fucking boat that the Conqueror was, but you guys were too stupid and couldn't get out of your own way to realize that there's other ways to play this game. And it was so relief. And I guess I'm like, I fucking told you, motherfuckers. I was sitting there rubbing my nipples on stream, on camera, saying, I told you, sons of bitches. But either way.
Hey, it happens, man. That's what I love too about this game is that you're absolutely right. There are so many different ways to play things, and you don't have to do it the right way all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 6, what would you say to makes you stand out? Meaning, what makes you different, and why the hell should we pay attention to Lord Zath?
I guess what makes me different is, like you had mentioned earlier, I'm one of the people that really wants to help other players improve. I also recognize and realize that I am not perfect and I make mistakes too. And I think one of the most important things about me that differentiates me from others is, I'm somebody that I hope people can feel that they can approach and talk to and enjoy hanging out with. If that makes any sense.
There you go. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Question number 7: Who influences you as a person? Who influences you personally to go to that next level? It could be a person, an artist, a book, a movie, maybe a comic book strip that you read one time when you was a kid. What forces Lord Zath to take it to that Super Saiyan level, man?
Super Saiyan level. Fushun. Let's see. I'd probably go with Babylon 5. For those of you guys who aren't into sci-fi, Babylon 5 was in my opinion, the best science fiction. I grew up on that stuff, and
Babylon 5 is good. It's a good show.
It was amazing. I still have the VHS tapes from when I taped it on TNT and and UPN and stuff. And so I actually went like super AV geek, and I had 2 VCRs, and I hooked them all together, and I re-recorded them onto another tape so I could cut out all the commercial breaks so that I could watch the show with no commercials. And then I'll do even one better. I had an a stereo with an audio input, so I would just plug it into my VCR, and I'd fall asleep just listening to Babylon 5. And I had one of the VCRs where it would automatically rewind and restart. And so like I would go to bed, I'd wake up, and totally different part of the tape and all that. And it was just like it was great.
So what about Babylon 5? What specifically about Babylon 5 influences you to go to that next level?
For me, it's the characters. There are times even today where something will happen, and I'll think back to something that Jakar might have said or something. Actually, I used this the other day. I was talking with somebody about learning a language, and I said, it's funny you mentioned that. There's a show I watched, and character said, it would take me a year to learn to speak this language, and the guy that she was speaking to said, and exactly how old will you be in a year if you don't learn to speak the language? And it was just kind of like, it's just little things like that, man. Like you learn about morality, it's like, just the level of development in characters and stuff. It's just, I haven't found another show quite like that.
Yeah, Babylon 5 was a great show. If anybody ever gets a chance to take a gander at it, peep it out, man. It's a pretty good show, man. I remember watching it when I was a kid too. All right, boys.
Just get through that first season. Give it the first season, and,
right.
and then start watching second, and you'll be golden about halfway through the second season.
Oh yeah. Question number 8: Any tips to an aspiring streamer or ship streamer in particular?
Yes, if it's somebody that's starting out, have a time slot figured out when you want to do stuff. Um, for me, for example, I find that Sundays at 12 noon work best for me, but it also seems to work best for my audience. Everybody's different, and Venom, I know you've got your days, so specific days that you do specific things. So when it's not like the same thing every single time you stream, right?
Uh, well, my schedule is pretty much every day at 7. I know Fridays this for the next couple of weeks is bowling week, or bowling night. But yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever we can do flexibility wise, podcast day,
Yep.
and we do that.
So, I mean, I think to an aspiring streamer, find a time slot that works for you. Make sure you have support from your family or anybody else that you're currently living with to make sure that they're cool with what you're doing. And don't be afraid to fail. Like, I know there's a lot of people on Twitch that go and they stream World of Warships and they get like 5 or 10 people at most watching them and they've streamed for hours. Don't let that dishearten you. Instead, I would say try to think about what's not working on your stream, what's not attracting all the people. Go take a look at Venom stream, my stream, Citizen, I see is up right now, Majash is up right now. See what they're doing. And you don't have to mimic it, but
Well, don't go
maybe
right now
pick
and
up on
see what they're doing, guys. But wait till after the podcast.
open another tab
Open
and go
another
take a look.
tab. No, no. I think that that's something very important that a lot of people don't realize. If there's some reason why it's not working for you, is it the times? Is it something that you're doing? Are you continuously chatting the entire time? I remember back in the day. I've been streaming 6 years now, and the last 3.5 years on World of Warships. And I remember those days, those early days, where I didn't have anybody to talk to, and it was just me talking to my bot, and I would just sit there and just shoot out some random nonsense, and people would come in and they would get interested. And I still have. There's a guy in here. His name is Eyes Evil. Has been here since day, I don't know, probably the first month that I started streaming, and he always comes back
Wow.
because of stupid shit that I say, which is a lot. I say a lot of stupid shit. But getting back to the point is if there's something that's not working, I know a guy who's been streaming on Twitch for a couple of years and has a pretty decent following, pretty decent averages, and he was like, "Man, I think I'm going to Mixer," and I'm like, "Wait a second, why would you start over with what you
Yeah,
have now? Why would you want to start over?" He's like, "Because it's not working." I was like, "Well, if it's not working here, it's not going to work on Mixer. You're going to get to the same point and you're going to hit that same wall. So do something different here. Think about what you're doing." And he's back and he made partner, and within the last couple of months I was really proud of him for sticking with it. And he sent me
that's awesome.
a little Twitter DM and said, "Dude, thank you so much, blah blah blah." And it's sometimes people need a reality check. If it's not working here, it's not going to work there. What are you doing? What are you doing? Change it up.
Yeah, good point.
And finally, here are the last 9 questions of averages. Then I'm going to get up. I'm going to take a real quick break for just a few seconds here. What is your biggest tip for a new World of Warships player?
Don't don't push too hard. So getting along what we were talking about earlier about, tier 10 being a status symbol, a lot of players feel like they're not making it unless they have gotten to the tier 8, 9 or 10 ships. And um, I think wargaming is kind of a victim of this too, where or has helped cause this, I should say, because, tier 4 is hella fun, but none of the missions work at tier 4 anymore. It's all tier 5
Yeah,
and up.
it's all tier 5 and up.
So it's kind of it's disincentivizing, whatever, disincentivizing you from playing tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. And I understand that part of the reason they did it was to prevent people from seal clubbing, going around in their Carnegie Alberts and stuff like that, or their what's the tier 4, the uh Nikolai, duh. um I call that the Russian penis. But
It
like,
is.
it is, right? You just go around and you penetrate everything. But anyway, like I understand that there's seal clubbing that happens, but God, sometimes when I was most frustrated with stuff, I I just went out and I took out a tier 4 or something and just went to town on people. Matter of fact, one of the it might have been, I think it was actually the very first of iChase's contest that I won was his 25,000 subscriber challenge, and his contest was to do as much fire damage as possible in a tier 4 battleship while sailing backwards. So I took
All
out
right.
my Arkansas, yeah, I took out my Arkansas beta, sailed in reverse, and had a hell of a lot of fun. And this was after I had gotten so frustrated with ranked battles. This is season 1 of ranked, that I was ready to quit for the day. I said, you know what, the hell with this. I'm going to do something really stupid and crazy. And it was hilarious. I still have the headphones someplace, but um, that contest alone completely changed my entire trajectory in the game, which is crazy to
It
think
changes
about.
your perspective too. If you're struggling and you're
Exactly.
having a rough time, drop down, go play, go relax a little bit. Go have a good time. I know we do. We do every once in a while, just as a break. We do what I like to call the gauntlet, right? So we take all our premium ships. If you guys don't know what the gauntlet is, we start at tier 2. We start in the Mikasa, and I have to play in everything at tier 2 and get a win at every premium in tier 2 before I can move on to tier 3. So if it takes 4
Okay.
games because I got 4 boats, then it takes 4 games. If it takes 10 games, then it takes 10 games. But I cannot move up to that tier. Number one, there's a few things why I'm doing this. Number one, I'm grinding credits basically because that's all that is. And number two, it's content. It takes me forever. It takes me a week sometimes to get through some of these at 5, 6, and 7 because there's so many premiums at those tiers.
Yep.
But it's something a little bit different, and have an objective. I think having an objective every day if you're going to play. I think one more thing is if there's boats out there that you are struggling with and you just don't like. Personally, I can't stand the Tier 7 German battleship, the Gneisenau. I think it's terrible. I think it's
Oh,
awful.
I love that ship.
I can't stand it. The Bismarck, the Freddy. Freddy's not as bad as the Bismarck is, but I can't stand those boats. I think they're awful, and I think they're trash because you can't rely on their main guns. But that's not the point. The point is, if you do 10,000 experience on a boat that you struggle with or you don't like a day, you will get through that boat eventually. Now, if you get a win of the day and you only get 8,000 experience, play another game. Because if you end up with 12,000 experience total, guess what? You're taking 2,000 off the back end of that. So you will just 10,000 a day, 10,000 a day, and you'll keep your boredom away and your frustration away. So play that 10,000 first off and then move on to something else. So
It's an interesting thought because I would always just play first wins just for that 50% bonus.
yep.
And then I would move on to a different ship. But the problem of doing that is you never really actually learn a ship that well in terms of their gun handling characteristics and
True.
maneuverability characteristics and all that kind of stuff. So I do like the idea of just focusing on 1 or 2 ships and learning them well instead of trying to do all of them at once.
And if you're a rich sumbitch like we are, because community contributors, we get flex a little bit, flags and camos it up. You can get that 10,000 damage done or 10,000 experience done in one game. And a majority of the time, since we're regrinding through some of these boats, we already know how to play it, and you just pick it up really quickly. So 10,000 a day isn't as rough for us, but for those people that don't have premium time, that could be 6, 7 games. And in those 6,
Yep.
7 games, you're going to learn a little bit more. I know when I first go back and play the North Carolina after not playing it for a long time, it takes me a couple of games to get that lead back because they are slower shells and you do have to lead. You do have to change it. So it takes a couple of games. So I recommend 10,000 a day. And you'll eventually get it. When you get up to the higher tiers, it takes a little bit longer. It takes 25 days to get some of these done. But if you're getting 8,000 in one game and then you get 8,000 in the next game, you're taking 6,000 off the back end. So you're good to go.
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing too is like when you're watching experienced players on Twitch and stuff, we make this look really easy. So just don't expect it to be that way for you when you play it because you don't know how to do all this stuff, and that's okay.
All right, so there you go. There's the 9 questions of averages. Hopefully, you guys got to know my man Lord Zath just a little bit better and a little bit about his mental approach to the game and to a little bit of approach to life. You guys can hit him up on his Twitch, twitch.tv/Lord Zath, or at Lord Zath over on the Twatters, and YouTube Lord_Zath, and it's Lord_Zath here on Twitch as well. So don't make that mistake, guys. I have trying to flush out a sickness in my body, so I'm in and out of the bathroom all day. I will be right back here in just a couple of seconds, as my back teeth are now floating, and we'll be back here. Or I'll be back here in a second. Lord Zath, entertain them. Do a dance or something.
All right, that's fine. So one of the things that actually people had asked about, and I'm happy to talk about it if you guys are cool with it, is some people were asking me to chat about the economics of the game. Um, and for those of you guys who have been playing this game for a long time, dude, somebody did somebody just yeah somebody just followed me. Well, thanks. Reefer Magic, thanks. That was funny. Like, oh, this is silly. Anyway, um, if you've been yeah, where's my kitty? If you've been playing this game for a long period of time, you've probably noticed that the economy has shifted quite a bit. And one thing that I think is important for you, the player, to realize is that wargaming is, of course, making all these different types of currencies that are out there. So there's doubloons, of course, and credits, but now they've added these special tokens, they've added steel, they've added coal, research points, all that crap. And I would say if you're somebody who's newer to the game, grinding through stuff, trying to figure out how to make it and all that, um, my recommendation is just to focus only on credits for now. Don't worry about doubloons. Don't worry about coal. Don't worry about steel. All that kind of stuff. If you're trying to work your way up the channel, or sorry, somebody just subscribed to my channel. Thank you, Maria. If you if you're working your way up the tech tree, then just worry about credits and XP. Everything else will fall into place. But get yourself comfortable ships and get yourself up to tier 7, 8, 9, maybe even a 10 or 2 on ship lines that you really enjoy. Ship lines you don't care for, don't worry about playing them. Um, and if you're low on credits, oh my God, so this is a mistake that I made when I first started grinding my ships. Okay, if you're out of port slots, one of the biggest mistakes that I made was selling off my ships. And I sold ships based on the tier. So if like I finished at tier 7 and moved up to tier 8, I sold my tier 7. That was a big mistake. If you do have to sell a ship, sell the lowest tier ship you have, a tier 2 or a tier 3 ship. Okay, um, and then play tier 5, 6, or 7 in randoms, maybe even co-op or scenarios, in order to grind the credits necessary to move up ahead in the line. Don't
Right.
ever sell a ship to be able to buy another ship. I made that mistake so many times, and I've had to rebuy so many ships, and it really slowed down my grind much more than XP earnings ever would.
Uh, I've always been of the ilk that grinding credits is very easy. It's just a matter of how much time you want to put into the game. Right now, if you don't have
Yes.
any premium time, it's obviously it's going to be a little bit of a struggle for you. So I recommend, if you only can play on the weekends, there's a $5 weekend pass that you can get 72 hours of premium time starting on Friday, get a little bit of doubloons, a little bit of credits, and then that way you can, if you're going to play an extended amount of time during those 3 days, go for it, right? That's my, because it becomes pay to advance, which is fine.
Yes.
The next thing is premium ships. If you're able to, there is a lot of free premiums that are out there that you can get just by free XP, that you can get just by finishing. You can get the tier 6 Shinonome, from the campaign. You can get you
Yes.
can still get that thing, which I really wish they would pull out more campaigns, but that's another story. You can get free captains. You can get free 10-point captains just by doing scenarios. Getting your first 5 stars or first 4 stars in a map, you can get a free 10-point captain. That can put you in a very good position for destroyers. Because I won't recommend any destroyer without concealment expert, and that 10-point captain will give you that concealment expert. There's a lot of things that you could do as a free-to-play player to get ahead when it comes to those premium ships. Now, if you do have any money that you want to put into the game and to help your grind out, I recommend one premium ship for every line, or not every line, but every nation. That way, if you
Yeah.
are, you can put your captain into that guy, play it, respec it, so it saves you a little bit of time. Plus, you're earning credits for that next boat. Then you can put it back into that tier 5 and continue on. That's my little recommendations for the free player, and then for the guy who wants to spend a little bit of money.
Right. The other suggestion I would have with when it comes to economy is don't let anybody tell you or judge you based on what you've chosen to do, not do in the game in terms of money. Um, with the whole Puerto Rico stuff, there were people judging people who bought a Puerto Rico outright. Hey, I might look at that and think they're nuts too, but it's their money. They can do what they want with it.
That's right,
Um,
JG
at,
Whitworth,
at this, that's right. At the
877
same
Cash
time,
now.
we got people like Kingpin that ground out the Puerto Rico for free. And to be honest, I wish I could have done that, but I was gone. But still,
Time
like,
constraints, man. Everybody has life. One of our
so
guys, Sir Gods, did over 1,000 co-op games doing the Puerto
yeah,
Rico grind, and
I probably did too.
he's so burnt on it. He's so burnt
Yeah,
on the game right now. He put a little bit too much into it, but
right. So, and as much as you may agree or disagree with the ship itself and how things were done, I strongly believe that you're looking at the future in terms of monetization. Because if you think about it, it makes sense. The idea was, can we get players to buy part of a premium ship and then grind out the rest of it? And
they showed that they can. And they showed that
absolutely,
they did. If you put it out there, people will spend money on it. You said something there, monetization. That's a topic that I do definitely want to talk about. But before we get into that, because that is a very deep conversation that we're going to have coming
yes.
up here in just a second. Let's talk about just a little bit more news that has come in. Not recently, but with this patch, you are now able to earn the ARP ships are coming back. Now, I know I ground out all the ARP ships before, but so we can get free captains or whatever. And it's another objective for us to do as we're moving forward. You can't get them all this time around, but you can get most of them. So what do you think of the ARP ships?
I love them. I'm a huge fan of Arpeggio Blue Steel, the
It's a
anime
good show.
itself. It's a great show. I don't care about the girl. Oh, be quiet, fart. You're a weeb too. I don't care about like the fact that it's all like anime girls and stuff like that. I care about the story, and to me, the story is just I don't know. There's something kind of cool about it in the world that they built. It's just kind of fun. So
It's a
I
good
look at it from
story.
that perspective. Yeah.
It's a good
Um,
story.
so so I'm excited that they're bringing him back out again.
You're gonna sit here and you're gonna hear myself. I don't know about Zath here, but I'm very critical of what wargaming is doing, and the way that the way the game is kind of shifted away from in my experience of the game. The game has gotten a little bit soft on people, at one direction or another, and there's some very good things that Wargaming does. Their collaborations with High School Fleet was pretty good. Their
Hmm.
collaboration with what's the other, Azure Lane, was fantastic. I love those captains. There's some of the boats that they put out. The two boats that they put out. The what was it? The Yukikaze and the what's that tier 8 cruiser? The light cruiser.
Oh,
Not the
Montpellier.
Yeah, the Montpelier. Fantastic boats. I really enjoy playing those. The captain interactions and the way that they get the actual live actresses and the live actors that do the voices in the shows or in the games, how they can really tie that into this game. They do a fantastic job with it, and there's some other things that they do very, very well. So this is just another opportunity for us as players to get something for free. You can
Yep.
legit get this stuff for free. Now, Wargaming doesn't give a whole lot of free stuff away. So if and when they do, I would say take full advantage of it.
And let's not forget these are now full. These are full premium ships now. Originally they weren't, and now they are. So that means they have better credit grinding potential. So once again, when we're talking about advancing up the tiers, even if you think the ships are ugly or you're like, why do I need 5 Congos? Uh, hey, it's a
Because
free ship, dude.
because that one's fucking pink, this one's green, that one's yellow, and that one's black and purple. That's why you need
Damn
that
right.
ship, you know. That's
Damn
why
right.
I've got 7 copies of the fucking Miyoko. I don't need them, but you know, we've got all those. We got the Eastern and Southern Dragon. It's the same goddamn boat with just a different skin. I will buy skins, man. I think that they need to do if they want to monetize the game, right? Now we go ahead and dip into this monetization. I think that they're missing out. I think that they are legit missing out on one aspect of monetization that bigger companies, League of Legends, CS:GO, skins for their fucking boats. I think they're
Yeah.
missing out on. They're missing out on an entire market. Now I remember skin wise, they say that it's not much profit into it. They get more profit by selling the ships with the skins. And I say, man, you cut that shit in half, or you know, I will buy the skins. I mean, people buy the tier 10 Yamato doubloon camo for 8,000 doubloons, and so people will buy them if you put it out there and it looks good. People will fucking buy anything, man.
You know, and I'm so glad you brought that up. One of the videos I made this year that I had a lot of fun doing was taking um, a whole bunch of doubloons and buying the Black Friday container bundles and essentially playing the lottery and seeing if I can make more doubloons. And I think I made like 18,000 doubloons off of spending 44,000. Like I ended up with a profit. So I put that back into the game, and I bought the 22,000 doubloon bundle, which gave me all of the special commanders for the black ships, all of the patches, and the special backgrounds as well. So now my patch is from the toggle black. It's that black circle with the black Torii gate on it because I love Japan, and you know I get players every now and then. They're like, Zath, that is a really cool emblem. How'd you get that? Um, and that's right now. How many months? 4 months? 3 months after they did this?
Right.
What's it going to be like in a couple of years?
Yeah, there's some pretty cool things that they've done with the game. I think that they've monetized the game in a poor way, though. The
Yes.
gambling aspect. This one that we got going on right now, you can buy doubloons to get a box to get one of 4 ships. But there's 38 of these goddamn things, and I know people who have spent, or I don't know how many boxes there are, or bundles, I guess, if you want to call it. I don't know how many there are, and I know people that have spent every bit of it to get that last
Yes.
ship on that very last one. But I also know people
Yes.
who have spent 1,000 doubloons or 10,000 doubloons and gotten all 4 ships in those 10,000 doubloons. And it's very frustrating for me, for somebody who has extremely shitty RNG, which we can tell by my fire chance, and, and the fact that I'm on fire all the time. I've spent 12,000 doubloons, got the first 2 ships, went around and got the British tokens, spent every British token that I've got, and I got the same 2 ships.
Right.
I was so pissed, and I was like, you know what? Fuck this. This is bullshit. They are just trying to gouge money out of the community with it. So I'm not
And,
happy about that.
and Tyrant Hill is posting, by the way, it's 65 total. And you know, I think the big problem here, and somebody mentioned it earlier in the chat. It might have been Danny. I don't remember, but somebody mentioned earlier in chat. You know, you vote with your wallet. Um, and the thing is that the idea of pay to advance is quite strong, unfortunately, and it seems to be resounding a lot with players. And remember, these are tech tree ships, so you know what you're paying to do essentially is to get early access to these tech tree ships, and you start at a you know as a severe advantage versus everybody else who's just starting the game. They don't you don't have to play through tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you've got the tier 6 already,
Yeah.
which makes sense. But at the same time, you got people that are paying for a premium ship just so that for the chance to have a tier 8 at the get go,
It's a
which
double-edged sword.
yeah.
It's a double-edged sword. And the reason I say it's a double-edged sword, and this kind of leads into why the fucking why the research bureau came out. They've given away 80% of their fucking content. They're giving it away, or they're selling 80% of their goddamn content in the community is eating it up. And I think that's a failure, number one, on the community part to stand up and say, no, we do not want this. But they're also giving away the wrong tiers of boats. I think if they really want to make an impact, give away 3, 4, and 5, and then force people to play through and buy through tier 6, 7, and 8, instead of giving away tier 8 and then forcing them to reset if they have to go back and play. I'd be honest with you. When the French battleships came out, I got the Normandy. I have never played 3, 4, and 5. Never once have I played 3, 4, and 5 because there's no reason to. Because and I would like to have ground through that originally, but there was no reason to because I already had 6.
Yep.
I think it's a mistake for wargaming to do it that way. I think that they're going to give these things away 2, 3, and 4, and then that's it. Maybe 5 at the max, depending on what type of boat it is.
Right. Now, I know they were trying to solve another problem with them, and that problem was when a line comes out, everybody's playing, that line. And so remember when the German battleships came out, and all of a sudden there were like 538 battleships in queue, and they were all German. So, I understand the idea of trying to shotgun it more to get a bigger spread of tiers at the start of a line release. But the problem that I have with that is wargaming spends all this time, money, and effort building these assets, right? And then you and I are never playing them, and how many others are never playing them? And I remember I actually saw this Russian ship, and I thought it was a Russian premium that we had tested. And so I remember I posted on the CC Discord. I'm like, when the heck did this ship come out, guys? Like, is it still under embargo? And everybody's like, Zath, that's the Russian tech tree ship.
Yeah.
I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't believe
7. I mean, I totally get it. It's very frustrating, but I see what they're trying to do, and I'm not going to knock wargaming for trying to make money. All right, because it is a business. It is a business, and I'm not going to knock them for trying to make money. But I think that the way that they've tried to make money, especially with this Puerto Rico grind, has been absolute ass backwards of what they should be doing. They've put a lot of, and just like you said it earlier, they're buying part of a grind, and they're not going to grind it out. And they made it extremely confusing. I wouldn't say difficult, but they made it extremely confusing. If I paid this much, what else do I have to do? People just didn't know exactly what they were supposed to be doing, or how much time, or they knew how much time they had, but how much effort do I need to put in for if I pay, say, $50? If I pay $50 into that, how much more bullshit do I have to take care of? And that was very confusing, and for a lot of people. And there's people out there that did end up buying some of these doubloon packages, and then weren't able to finish it for that same reason.
Right, exactly. And as far as things are going with the packages you're talking about, I guess on the one hand, it's nice that they got rid of the containers, but I mean, the reason why we have it now is because of gambling rules that say you can't have loot boxes. Because essentially now, if you look at this isn't a loot box. This isn't gambling because technically you already know what you're going to get, which we all know is complete BS. Because what happens? You say, well, let me clear this one out. Let me see what the next one is, right? Which essentially is pulling on your gambler's instincts, whether you agree or not. It is indeed a trap. Yes.
I think it's a fucking bullshit loophole. I think it's a loophole that they found in the wording of the loot box system. Well, this isn't technically a loot box, so it doesn't fall under that category, but it is gambling, and wargaming knows it's gambling, and children gamble. Children love that gambling, and it's
adults too.
Well, everybody does. Everybody loves that chance of getting something for less than what they paid out for it. I mean, you look, Super Bowl just happened, right? Go Chiefs!
Yeah.
Super Bowl just happened, and how much money was made on that Super Bowl? Just billions of dollars was made on that Super Bowl just from gambling sites and websites alone. And I think that gambling is a very addictive. It's very addictive. And me personally, I have one of those addictive personalities, but that's one thing I've never done is got into gambling. So it's very hard for me to advocate. Okay, just buy these things, just buy those things. It's very hard for me to advocate for anything like that because I know what it can do to people. I know what people can lose. They can lose their livelihoods. They can lose their families. It's just like drinking, man. There's a lot of things that can go wrong with it, and I think it's a symptom of a bigger problem in the gaming world, not just World of Warships, about this gambling system. Just look at Madden Ultimate Team. Madden Ultimate Team is terrible because kids want to gamble, and they're feeding into that, and it's a hard thing. So they're treading a very fine line in some people's eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and everybody's gambling now all of a sudden. But I agree. It's frustrating to see that that it's coming to this in the game. This is the one part of the game that I really disagree with. And you know, everything else is great. And it sucks that like the one part of it is the part that it just feels kind of predatory, and you know, whatever. But like you said, they have to make their money somehow. Getting back to the whole, you know, if I could get back to the monetization scheme and talking about um, appearances and stuff like that instead of buying whole ships and stuff, what I'd love to see in this game is the ability to customize like your shell tracers. So, you
That's
know,
something that I've been advocating for a long time.
right,
There's still some maps out there, and the only reason, sorry to cut you off, I'll let you back to it in a second, but there's some maps out there, like if you're playing on Neighbors and you're down at A and you're having to push back into C, you cannot see AP shells coming at you. I can't see it, period. And I want to
right,
change those shell colors without having to go to a goddamn mod to make them a different color so I can see and so I can turn and I can maybe dodge some of these shells. Because I've been hit looking at this guy. I was like, who the fuck killed me? How did that guy kill me? I never saw the shots coming in. It's such a very frustrating thing. And I think that they can do it in the game. They have the ability. They've done it before. Space battles, green goddamn shells. Why can't we get green shells all the time? I will buy purple shells. I will buy green shells. I mean, I think that just the shells themselves, tracers. So they've done and shit. We have tracers. We have tracers that are different colors. We got red ones, we got green ones, we got blue ones. For the
yep.
different elite captains. I think that they've made a mistake in not monetizing that, not monetizing different skins. But anyway, continue.
I'd love to be able to change my horn. I'd love to be able to buy like certain special tunes or something like that for my horn and just be able to play like a different tune. I think it'd be hilarious, right? Um, I'd love to have more patches, like the arpeggio thing. I was so disappointed that they didn't put the captains in as patches. I'd love to go around with like a Gunzo patch or something like that. I don't know. It'd
Right.
just be fun, be different.
That hentai
So,
patch with the tentacles and stuff.
I wasn't gonna go
I
there,
went
but
there. But come on,
fine,
man. We can dip
thanks.
in. This is a very lowbrow cast.
I'm finding out that there's more to this that I agreed to. But anyway, Dukes of Hazzard. There you
There
go.
you
That's
go.
right.
Yeah.
An Ooga horn. Yeah.
There's a lot of things that they haven't done. Now, does that mean that they're not going to do it in the future? No. I mean, they can do whatever they want to, as they've shown. They've done whatever they wanted
Yeah.
to so far,
Yep.
regardless of what you think or what I think. They're going to do whatever the fuck they want to. So where do we go? What do we do? How do we just bow into it? The only thing I can think of is if you don't like it, don't fucking buy it. Don't feed it in. Don't feed it into it, because the more people that buy it, the more that they see that they can get away with it, the more that they're going to put out there. And this is the same thing with these stupid packages, which I think are a fucking straight up ripoff.
Yeah. There's a reason why I haven't spent a single doubloon on those packages, and um, when I have a lot of doubloons, but I don't like to spend them. Especially on things that I feel like would encourage that behavior. I mean, I spent on the Puerto Rico just so I can get the damn thing, but like,
Oh, I did. I
you
spent
know,
on it because they gave me the fucking doubloons. I wouldn't buy.
Right,
I
but
wasn't. I ended up buying 2,000 doubloons to finish it out. That was it. So it cost me $10.
right. But what I'm getting at is in a situation like that, man, then there, like you when wargaming pulls the numbers, right, for how many people spent on whatever, it doesn't matter that, your doubloons came courtesy of wargaming
Oh,
or
true,
mine
true.
either. So I only did the minimum of what I needed to spend in order to guarantee that I would get it, which would be 2 booster packs, because I didn't know if I would be able to do as much grinding as I thought I could while I was visiting my dad, if that makes any sense.
No, that's fair.
Um, so it's my insurance policy, so to speak. But otherwise, I don't spend it unless it's on cosmetic things like the Black Friday patches or something like that, or some of the camos. I don't like to buy all the camos because that's a lot of doubloons. But like it's just, to me, I'm trying to find ways to encourage wargaming to do things beyond. It's just the problem is for most players, when it comes to either I'm going to buy something that has a tangible impact on my grind or whatever, versus I'm going to buy something that looks kind of cool and fun, you know, that's a luxury, right? They're going to go for what they perceive is going to be better for them, which is most likely going to be like the perma camos or, um, boosters for like a, premium ship or
Uh huh.
premium time, that kind of stuff.
I
So of
think.
course that's what they.
I think there's going back to now. We'll give Wargaming a little bit of props here. Their art department is fucking phenomenal. Their art
Hell yeah,
department
it
is
is.
absolutely phenomenal. Have you guys seen those the Halloween camos for this year? The angler Shimakaze and the big scorpion on top of the Yamato and the fucking gator Montana. I mean, there's some really really cool things. And not only that, going back into the space event, those space camos are fucking awesome. Those space camos are
Yes.
amazing, and they do such a good job putting these camos together. Why are we waiting for these events? Make some random bullshit up and throw it out there. People will fucking buy them. Period. You really want to make a lot of money here in this game, Lord Zath. If you're wargaming, let me tell you what you do. Make a fucking battleship. I don't care what if it's a good battleship or not. People buy battleships. Period. They are
Mm-hmm.
probably the most sold and the most played premiums out there is premium battleships.
Yep.
And then sell camos for them, man. And you're just gonna make it. You're gonna make a shitload of money. But I think that they've missed out on the boat. Missed the boat, as it were, pun intended.
Well, I think that they're trying to find a way to appeal to uh, every audience, as opposed to just the one that's most popular, so to speak.
No,
So
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, they put out. I know when the Alaska came out, there was a bajillion people that bought the Alaska, and rightly so. It's a pretty good boat. Uh,
hmm
but then there's some that people don't particularly tout on. I think, probably one of the most underrated boats that are out there, but you can't buy it. You have to get it through steel. It's the fucking neutered shimmy, man, the Nooster shimmy. That boat is
I love that
disgusting.
ship.
That boat is absolutely disgusting. I got it the other day, and I put my kebab captain in there, or my Grauzovoy captain, or no, it was my kebab captain because I don't have concealment expert. I was like, this is kind of shit, man, with 6 kilometer detection. And one of the guys in the chat was like, dude, you don't have concealment expert on. That shit goes down to 5 and change. And I was like, oh, that changed up the whole game. And that thing is dirty, and people sleep on a lot of these other boats. And so that's kind of what I like to do is bring attention to some of these other boats that I find very enjoyable that are off meta, that are off meta. The Kiev at tier 8
Yeah.
is still one of the best fucking gunboats out there. Fuck your goddamn French DDs. This Kiev is fucking disgusting, and people
Yep.
sleep on it. You never see it out there.
Yep. And that's what I'd love to see wargaming do more of. But the problem is it's also harder to balance as a result. But more premium ships that just are completely different in terms of game style. And I'm not talking about lines. I'm talking about like entire ships. Just one ship, and that's it. Just to mix things up a bit.
Uh, Yeah, and totally. They definitely need to mix it up. But so anyway, so there you go, boys. There's our monetization. Is there any other aspects of monetization that you wanted to discuss, or gambling, or anything like that? before we move on into our main topic for the day?
No, I think we're good.
I think we're good. All right. So last minute thoughts here for me. Monetization can be good if it's done in the right way. I think so far with the Puerto Rico, they've showed that they've done it the wrong way with the quote unquote loot boxes that really aren't loot boxes. I think that that's a bad way of monetizing the game, but people still buy into that, so they're going to take that as okay. Well, people like this, and we're making fucking bank out of it. So we're going to continue to do it. So you're going to see even more of that. You're going to see even more things like the Puerto Rico. And, the one thing about that Puerto Rico that really was overshadowed by everything else was the building of that ship.
Yeah.
The visuals on the building of the ship. Number one, I think it's I want you to know it looks amazing and it was fucking badass to watch, but I think it's a waste of their fucking time because once you see it once, do you really need to see it again?
I guess. To me, one thing I really wish this game had was just a port viewer, just the ability to drop all of the HUD, all the UI, go into a free cam, and just fly around and enjoy the models that Wargaming has made. Um, that's something that like we just don't have right now unless you take the ship into the training room. It takes all this time and stuff to get into.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of secrets on those boats. Like the Perth has a damn koala bear on it up in the crow's nest. But
Right.
a lot of people don't know that because they can't really get into it. You can get kind of there by holding the right mouse button, but as soon as you let that go, it clicks you back to the main view and puts all your UI back on top.
Right.
So there you go, boys. That's monetization. What are you guys' thoughts on monetizations? Leave them in the chat here at ServantMIK or at Lord Zath, and we'll answer those Q&As and get to some of your comments a little bit later on. Speaking of that, we're hanging out with my man Lord Zath, twitch.tv/Lord_Zath, over on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Lord_Zath, and at Lord Zath. There on the twatters if you guys want to have a little conversation with him over there. There you go.
Yes, you did, Edge Case.
Yeah, that'd be that. Virtual tours of ships would be really, really nice. Maybe instead of doing it in game, maybe they do it on their side of it. Do the little videos because they're always doing. Hey, check out the Naval Legends series that they had for a long time, and then here's a virtual tour. This is what we've done to this boat, and they take you camera view inside the boat and all the details that they've done.
So Anchor's Way Anaheim, dude. We went to the Iowa, and we did a tour, and then we were hanging out with the guys. What are they called? They're guys that stream on the Iowa, and they stream to Twitch, and I can't remember Echo Papa, something like that. And they like pulled up the game. They pulled up the Iowa and the port, and they just pointed like, all right, we went through here, we came out this door, we walked on this part of the deck, we went back in. That was just so cool.
Those things are fantastic to do. I've been on the Iowa at TwitchCon 2017. Woo!
Wow!
It was a lot of fun to go down there in Long Beach and walk around on that. And I have a picture of me standing next to that big ass AP shell that they have, which is taller than me.
Yeah.
Tell me that's not gonna break a goddamn DD in half. Bring back my battleship AP. All right. Let's rock and roll off into our new. The main topic here is the Pan-European DDs. Now, I have not played. They've just released. All right. They've just released the even tiers. We had to what did we have? 6, 8, and 10. Yes, we had 6, 8, and 10, and then the premium tier 10. And I played all those. But what I did not play was the new ones they put out, the 4, 5, 6, or 4, 5, 7, and 9. I have not played those yet. Have you played those yet?
I've played them a little bit, yeah.
All right. So let's first of all let's just start at tier 6. What do you think of tier 6? This is the Vastarius. I can't pronounce this thing, man. They got them all Swedish names. Vasterns.
Wait, we have the 5. Do you want to start with the 5?
I haven't played the 5.
Oh, okay. The 6 is fun. As it can be with tier 6 ships. I mean, it runs into some quirks. Down tiered, I've had some pretty amazing games at tier 8 as bottom tier. Um, it's fun. I don't hate it. It's fun.
I find that this out of these boats, this is the one that can actually do something at versus other destroyers.
Mm,
I mean, we'll talk a little bit more deeper when we get into the tier 8 and the tier 10. But the tier 6 has 6 guns on it as opposed to the 4 guns of everything else. I find that that gives it a little bit more flexibility. And if I need to go push a captain, I can go push a cap and I can still defend myself versus these other DDs. Whereas with the 8 and the 10, you tend to find yourself being a little bit more passive and relying on those high speed torpedoes, which we haven't talked about yet, but we will. Relying on
hmm
those high speed torpedoes to be your main source of damage, as opposed, and the guns are secondary. So
hmm
I find this is a pretty good balance between the two, as it does have 10-kilometer torpedoes that go a fucking pretty fast. I think they're 65. I think at this point at tier 6, and then they jump to 75 at tier 8. So and then 86 at tier 10, which is ridiculously fast.
Right.
Overall solos, it's fine for divisions. You could do a little bit more with it if you have support, but I don't know. I think tier 6 is pretty good. I think so far, other than the tier 10, this has been my favorite just because of the flexibility.
Mm. Okay.
So tell me about the 5.
The 5, in my opinion, reminds me an awful lot of what the Minakaze used to be. And I'm
Okay.
talking about the old school Minakaze.
Yeah.
Back when Minakaze had the great stealth and it had the 10-kilometer torpedoes. Oh, I'll tell you what, at tier 5, its ship is just ridiculous. Great stealth, great reload on torps, and almost, I think it's 9-kilometer range. I mean, almost the same range as the Minakaze had. Um, it's absolutely devastating at tier 5.
Uh, well, that's a good deal because the Minakaze was pretty OP back in the day. Yeah, my dogs are barking at
Yeah.
something out there. I don't think anybody's at my door, but somebody's door shut next door. That's what my dogs are barking at. But well, that's good. I mean, Minakaze was a fantastic boat back in the day. Now it's it struggles a little bit. It does what it can at that particular time. Let's move on into. Did you play the 7 at all? Because like I said, I haven't played the 7.
Yes, I have.
All right, what are your thoughts on 7?
It's very, in my opinion, it's very similar to the 8. I didn't feel. I'm gonna pull it up right now just so I can be looking at it. But I didn't feel like it was really that special compared to
Can you tell me
anything
what the
else.
concealment is on that at tier 7?
Yeah.
Because generally tier 7s, it's a rough area for me as tier 7 destroyers, as the detection is always, it's in between 6 and 6.8. That's very high
Yep.
detectability ranges because you don't get the concealment mod like you do at 8,
Right.
other
It is
than the
six
Hydia at
points.
5, whatever.
It's 6.7
It's pretty
base.
rough.
Well, 6.7 with the 3% camo on it. Fully maxed out, it's 6.0.
No, it's not bad then. All right, it's right there. It's right there
Yeah.
on the edge of being one of the lowest. Where the Heidi, I believe, is 5.7, 5.8, something like that. So it's pretty low detectability, and it's got what are the torps on that? 10 kilometers,
Um, 12.
12 kilometers at
Yeah.
at 7.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if 12 kilometers at 7, that's still pretty good. With that amount of detectability, you can get in a little bit closer. You still have to worry about the radars, but hey, that's a DD life, right? Uh,
hmm
12-kilometer torpedoes that go relatively quick. They don't hit. They don't hit hard at all. By any means, they don't hit hard. But you can get several. There's some volleys I get 6, 8 hits. For 30 grand or something like that,
Right.
which is fair. I think that's pretty fair for the amount of speed that they have. What do you think?
Um, yeah, I mean, they don't do a ton of damage, but yeah, I mean they can cause flood still, and regardless of how much damage they do, they still cause people to take their eye off of what's going on in the battle, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
It's always nice when you have those torpedoes going in, and you look at the enemy boat, and you can see their guns turning down toward the torpedoes because they're looking at them.
and you know
That's
what they're
always,
saying.
yeah, they're like, fuck. Moving up to tier 8. I know we're running short on time here, and I apologize for that. But the Oland at tier 8, I didn't have a problem with this boat, other than the guns being kind of shit. Being 120s and only having 4, so you really can't rely on those guns to get you out of trouble if you move in. Detectability was reasonable for tier 8, and you have 12-kilometer torps here at tier 8 as well, that go 70, somewhere around 75, 76 knots, I believe, but are fantastic. They're longer ranges. They don't hit very hard at all. They hit about the same as a Loyang, and I think the Loyang long torps hit a little bit harder. So it's just spam, spam, spam. We went from highfalutin HE spams of the Smolensk, Colbert, Worcester, to highfalutin torpedo spam. And with all this torpedo spam coming back, why not bring back the Kitakami? Why not? I mean, there's a lot of fucking torps going out there, and there's a lot of torps going out there really quick. We see it with the Benham. Why not? Why not bring back the Kitakami?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I've brought it up a few times.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to see it come back.
Yeah, but they said they'd never bring it back. But they also said no subs in the game. But that's another story too.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
they also released Yoshino, which is a great team killing machine. So
Oh yeah, Yoshino's great about that. The Holland, which is the tier 10, which is the one I've played the most. I find it very. It's a one-off. It's a very hit or miss. I mean, you're going to have very fantastic games where you hit a lot of torps, and you're going to have those games just like when you play the no smoke torpedo reload or Kagero or Yukumo. You're going to have a lot of games where you hit stuff and you do quite a bit of damage. Then there's going to be a lot of games where you don't do dick the entire game except spot and try to cap. Then take that into consideration when you're playing these things, because these things are slow as shit. They only go 35 knots, and there's no boost on these things. So they don't go very fast at all. That one caveat to this is that the Holland is an AA monster, or the Halland, excuse me, is an AA monster. I think there's an omelet there somewhere on the A, one of those omelet things. It is an AA
omelet.
Yeah, omelet. I call it an omelet because it pisses people off. But let's put it this way, put this into perspective for you. Was playing tier 10, got in against the Midway. How many planes are in a Midway attack squadron? 12, something like that? 8 to 12?
12.
They hit one flak and they all died. Every one of them died in that one flak burst. So these are legit fleet escort ships. You're not going to do anything super special with your guns. They're very slow. They don't maneuver very well. And if you get shot at, you're probably going to get your shit pushed in because their defensive capabilities are not that great. But they're definitely, now we can actually just dodge just by having decent AA. I don't think that the AA is going to stay that way. But what do you think on this one, 10?
The Holland, yeah, I mean, I think it's the first destroyer that I've ever played that didn't have smoke that I've actually felt comfortable playing in a carrier game.
Right.
So, like, to me, that completely resolves the issue of CV versus DD play, but I don't like the idea that it has to come at such a high price in a sense. You can play the French destroyers and the Russian gunboat destroyers and all that without smoke, and make a go of it. But I just find that it's I don't know. I don't like having to be in that position.
Well, it definitely forces you it forces you into one particular style of gameplay. This is what we were talking about earlier, or
Yes.
what I was saying earlier. It forces you into that very passive play style. You cannot be too overly aggressive. I mean, you could be kind of aggressive, but you can't be overly aggressive because you're going to get into a point where you can't cash that check. You cannot. You're gonna write a check that your butt can't cash here. To get the saying correctly here, you're going to go in a little bit too deep and not be able to get out of there. You're going to get radared at 7 kilometers, and then you have to go for 10 to 12 kilometers before you're out of that radar. There is no reprieve. So
Right.
you have to play it a little bit off. This is a decent support. I say support destroyer. And what I mean by support destroyer is that you're not going to go out by yourself, but if you have another destroyer out there that does have a smoke, or that if you're putting this in conjunction with, say, a freeze land, or a gearing, or a daring, you can do a lot of really cool things as a support destroyer. Area of deniability torpedoes. You can drop these 15 kilometers that go 86 knots out there, and just really blanket an area and force people away from the cap, or force people away from where you are. And I think that is a good bonus for these particular ships, the area of deniability aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Meow meow meow. All right, the last one, the small end. The last one that we have is the Tier 10 Premium Small End. And I tell you what, this is probably the one I've played the least. Wasn't impressed with it. What are your thoughts on it? I'm not a big
I
fan
hated
of this
it.
one. Yeah, okay, good. I'm glad
No,
we're on the
I
same
hated it.
page here.
Hated it.
Yeah, hated it. Men on film. Yeah, going
You know
back
what
to
I'm
them
talking about.
living color days, baby.
That's
Heck
right.
yeah, man. Small end, not a fan of it. Didn't enjoy it at all. Is AA wise, I didn't really see too much of it. Like I said, I played this one only 3 times, and I played them all solo. I never experienced it in a division play, which, whatever. I mean, when it comes to testing ships, for me personally, I don't like testing ships because I'm forced to play them 50% solo, and because I don't like to play this game solo. I find this game very boring and droll solo when I'm not hitting there bullshitting with people. So testing is hard for me. But so I only played this one 3 times,
Mm-hmm.
and wasn't impressed with the guns. Wasn't impressed with the AA. The torpedoes were 12 kilometers. They were the Tier 9 torpedoes, or the Tier 8 torpedoes. It really didn't really. You ended up having to give up too much for this boat. I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm off base here. What do you think?
No, I agree. The loss of defensive fire meant that it was no longer comfortable against aircraft carriers, and the addition of radar just really didn't matter. I mean,
It's a
you
15
basically
second
said,
radar base.
yeah, you basically said, and remember, this has just recently been changed too. It was buffed, I think, 5 more seconds or 10. I don't know. Either way, let's make it into a Yu Yang and just give it
Well,
a heal.
see,
I don't know.
here's the thing about that Yu Yang and its radar. With 20 seconds of radar, even with the black, you actually have some decent fucking guns that
Right,
you can actually punish that guy for coming in anywhere near you. Your guns are shit
right.
on this boat, so it's worthless to have the radar. Period. So,
Mm-hmm.
so there you go. That's my opinion on the Pan European DDs. What's your overarching opinion on these?
Whatever. That's my opinion. I mean, they've got heals and whatever. I don't know. They're just destroyers.
They're kind of meh. Are they going to out damage anything? I've had games with 200,000 damage because I hit a whole bunch of torps, but then there's other games that they're going to be about an average player's fantasy, man. I mean, like those 20-kilometer Shimakaze players that sit out on the fucking 10 line the entire time, they're going to love these boats because now it's designed for that specifically. It does not have very good detectability anywhere through this line, so you can play longer and you're going to play passive. So for those particular players, they're going to love these things. things. But for the guys that like to get in there and actually be effective versus other DDs, you're not going to like these. So it's a very polarizing class, or a very polarizing line. I think there's going to be a lot of people that like them. There's going to be a lot of people that hate them, and there's going to be very few. There's going to be very few middle of the ground guys. You're either going to love them or hate them. I don't think that there's going to be very many, but they're okay. There's not going to be any middle of the road guys here.
So far, I would liken it to driving with a manual transmission. It's an awful lot of work to make the same thing happen that you're used to doing with other things, but you might feel better about it because you managed to get something big happen.
Yo, but I tell you what, when you're driving a manual thing and you're pissed off and you want to go out for a ride, you just shove that thing into first gear, jam it back into second, rip it over and push it up into third, just really angry like. It makes you feel fucking better. So I understand.
Yep.
So there you go, boys. That's the Pan-European DDs. Any last-minute comments on theirs before we move on?
Totally balanced, comrade.
Russian stellanium shells. All right, boys. Oh, speaking of the Puerto Rico, I wanted to touch on one thing. I don't understand why they put the Puerto Rico out with the battleship dispersion, strictly for the fact that the Stalingrad has the same 305s, maybe different shells, obviously, but they have pinpoint laser fucking cruiser accuracy. So what the fuck? What the fuck, Wargaming? Why are you knocking on the Americans here? I just wanted to put that out there. All right, clan battles in there. I actually took part in one clan battle this time. Got a win. I didn't do a goddamn thing but stay alive with 400 hit points left, and we won. So I got my free respect. So guys, if you're out there and you're all playing clan battles, good luck. It's a very frustrating season, especially with the 12-kilometer radar. And guess what? 12-kilometer detectability. So they really pushed this into the Russian radars this time around. So. Lord Zath, I just want to say thank you very much for coming and join us here on the podcast. I know I know we're running short on time, so let's get into you. Tell them where they can find you. Tell them what your schedule is, and just this is the part of the show where you can just really tout on yourself here.
Oh, well, that's exciting. It's all good, man. Big thanks, by the way, for having me out here. It's always a lot of fun to hang out with other CCs. I don't think I've ever met you in person yet, and hopefully we can rectify that at some point.
Oh, yeah, rectify. But we'll touch tips.
Yeah.
I'll let you rub on my bikini areas.
There you go.
Dude, he just got bright red. Y'all see that shit?
Because I'm watching my laptop display, which is 20-second delay. So I'm looking back. Anyway, so guys, you can find me twitch.tv/lordzath. You can see that up on the top of my image there. Twitter @lordzath, youtube.com/lordzath. Those are all the things. Also, you can email me replays. So if you have a replay that you would like me to feature, all you have to do is send it to me in an email, the file itself. It's lordzathna@gmail.com.
Link it in the chat forum real quick.
All right.
And for you guys over on YouTube, if you guys want to link any replays over to Lord Zath so he can feature you on the show or on one of his YouTube videos, I'll leave a link in the section below so you guys can have that ready for you guys whenever y'all are watching this, because this is February the 4th, 2020 at 9:20 p.m. And that's all I got for you, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to again thank you, Lord Zath, for coming out and helping us out here on the podcast, man. It's a fucking great place. I enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself and you want to come back sometime in the future.
Of course, and like what Falco said, yes, I've been playing co-op through the entire talk. I just played my first game of randoms. This is with the tier 7, since we were talking about it, because I needed to get a little bit more XP earnings from my third container. I'm currently sitting here at bottom tier, but I'm just torpedoing the heck out of a Colorado that's off on his own.
Sailing straight.
Off sailing straight. You got it.
All right, boys. Episode 45 of the Crush Your Bow podcast is now in the books. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for coming out here. I know you guys have options. There's a lot of really good, awesome people out there streaming right now, and you guys, all 103 of you guys here at the end of the channel, decided to come in here and hang out with me and my friend, Mr. Lord Zath. Go check him out on all of his social media, all of his Twitch channel, all of his YouTube, and I am Sir Venom IK. We love you guys. Take us out, man. Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
All right, that's it, boys. We'll see you guys next week. Next week we have Virtual Senpai is going to join us on the, I believe, the 12th. I can't can't quite remember here. Yeah, the 12th is going to join us there at 7 p.m. U.S. Central Time. It's always a good time. Then we have Chaos Machine is going to join us on the 19th. He's an EU community contributor, only the third EU guy that we've had on the podcast because of scheduling conflicts and times. And then I have Static the Warmongler scheduled for the end of February, so it'll be a lot of fun. The rest of February is booked. We have a couple of weeks in March already booked up, so stay tuned for that. I am Sir Venom IK. That is Lord Zath. We will see you. That is Lord Zath over on the other side. We'll see you guys next week, and I love you. And hang around for the show. Salutes, my friends. We'll see y'all next week.